Thanks. Sorry to be there remotely, not being in the beautiful Istanbul, but I hope I'm gonna go back there very soon. So, the object of this talk is, between words, the metaverse, and how it's shaping the future of displaying and enjoying art. So, about that, I would like to start maybe from far behind a little bit. So, also talking about how actually art is shaping the metaverse in some way, and how NFTs specifically had an influence in a feedback loop with the metaverse and what we think now about metaverses. So if you think about it, if you think about digital art, and digital art in the metaverse, in the open metaverse, because of course I'm part of what we can call the open metaverse, so metaverse based on the blockchain, open metaverses. So these open metaverses basically are based on NFTs, if you think about that. I also argue that basically everything that really exists in the metaverse, it only exists if it's there in the form of NFT. Why is that? Because of course NFT creates a unique and persistent object in the metaverse. So we have the building blocks of the metaverse that, for example, are the lens of the metaverse. There are virtual metaverses like Sandbox or the Centerland that have a total virtual lens. And there are other metaverses like ours that are augmented reality metaverses where the NFTs represents lens. But then also there is all the objects that exist on these metaverses. And those objects basically, again, are NFTs, cross-metaverse. And so it's very interesting how this idea of digital art is very, very deeply connected with NFTs. And also the success of this standard, the popularization of this acronym that now everybody talks about, actually really starting picking up with NFTs back in 2020. The NFT standard, as you might know, has been invented late back then in 2017. Now the real origin is not so clear; it's a little bit debated. But either were CryptoPunks or the Centerland. But anyway, back in the day, NFTs, yes, was a thing, but was not so famous. And after 2017, a great bull run in the crypto space. Basically, this concept was kind of forgotten, or even it had a bad attitude connected to it. For example, there was this game, CryptoKitties, that used the NFT standard for the first time, but basically clogged the Ethereum network. So NFTs had a kind of bad name. But then at the beginning of 2021, end of 2020, something happened. And something happened specifically because of art. Art started picking up this concept that was kind of forgotten, or at least not so famous anymore in the crypto space, and gave to this concept a new life. And that's, looking at it at insight, there's also a good reason for that. Because what NFTs has is basically uniqueness. So give the opportunity to create a unique digital experience. That if you think about that, is a kind of oxymoron, because there's nothing more reproducible than a digital asset. And the reason why this was picked up first by artists is because and by people that was collecting art, because for them it was easier to understand what is the value of an original versus a copy. So with NFTs, for the first time in history, we was able to create a unique copy, a marked copy, a signed copy, or something that is infinitely reproducible. And so the first that started to understand how this is important was really art collectors, because for them was very clear, for example, how a copy of a work of art has no value if compared to the original. You can create a kind of perfect copy of the Mona Lisa, but the copies, they could be very, very good, maybe even at atomic level, but will not have the value of the original. So this concept was actually, taken up by collectors and artists at the beginning, and start its popularization. And basically, this kind of culminated, if you remember, in March. actually it was 11 March, I think, 2021, when people sold his work of art for $69 million. Since then, basically everybody started talking about NFTs, and also the metaverses, the open metaverses, like us, like the Central, like Sandbox, also started getting traction because of the NFT structure that they had. So basically the point that I want to make that is that basically NFTs is actually NFTs and art actually had an influence and had a very positive and important influence also in the metaverses in general. And I also would argue that basically this standard that is the base of the metaverses, of the open metaverses, also gave birth to what I call a digital art renaissance. Because basically we are enabling, it is an enabling factor for creators to actually self-sustain themselves and actually spread their art. I mean, this thing was very clear to me 1 month ago. I was in Lisbon and I met one of the biggest NFT art collector of Italy. So I was speaking with him and I asked him, so why, how long have you been collecting digital art? He was collecting even before the NFT standard. And he told me, no, not at all. I mean, I was an art collector before. I collected physical art. I was interested in digital art, of course, but I never bought digital art because I didn't know how to bring them this stuff home. Because before NFTs, if you think about digital art, you went to some museums, maybe you saw some exhibition on a TV or stuff like that, but that was not really something that you could own. What do? You bring home the projector. It wasn't really something that you could not really own easily, let's say. So really, the NFT standard enabled, this new wave of art. And again, I want to stress it. This NFT big wave that started with artists and then moved to gaming and to all the use cases that all we know now, really start taking traction with art. So really, there's been a lot of beneficial feedback loops here. And also, if you think about that, also the fact that digital art is important and valuable is also something that is quite natural, because we spend so much time in the metaverse, let's say, with a broad sense, because there's many definitions of the metaverse. Metaverse is a buzzword, so it's very difficult to say what exactly is. But if we take a very broad approach to what is the metaverse can also be conceived that everything that is digital. And so we spend so much time, staring at our phones. The average, I think, is 6.5 hours per day, and probably the rest of the day we stare at the screen of a computer. So really, we are already inside the metaverse, if you think about that. It's just that right now we are in a 2D metaverse, and we are moving faster and faster towards a 3D metaverse. That also why we built over and what is our vision on the future and on the way that we will interact with information. So again, what's the impact of the metaverse on the diversity of art through metaverses? And again, this is also enabled by the fact that NFT standard is an open standard. So basically the files, the actual file that is behind the NFT is something that is open and public. For example, I was referring before to this work of art of Beeple that was sold for $69 million. I actually have the exact same digital file that the owner of that NFT has. The only difference is that he has a signed copy. So this availability of the asset itself, the separation between the ownership of the asset and the viability of the asset, is what also creates accessibility. And so the metaverse really combines very well with this, because basically you have a way, you have an asset, an NFT that is accessible. And so you have a space, in this case the metaverse, where to actually showcase this content very easily. So the first thing, I mean, the most easy thing to understand when you think about the impact of the metaverse on art is the accessibility. And again, on this, I would like to give an example, maybe not really tightly related to works of art, but to, for example, digital events. So if you think about events like music events, in 1 year ago, there was a concert on Fortnite where Travis, an important star, had 28 million viewers. I mean, so one event, 28 million viewers. So if we think about this, I mean, the magnitude of this, the amount of people that could come together to an event just because it was on a video game, so it was on a metaverse, is impressive. So just giving some comparison. So let's go back to the most famous music event in the past, in the 70s. So Woodstock, 1969. There was 1 million people there versus 28 million. Okay, but you can say, yes, that was back then, back in the day. But so let's go to Coachella, another very important music festival. Before COVID, the last version of this event was 2019, before COVID, and it had 1.3 million people. So the opportunity to bring people together in a virtual place and to showcase them something that could be, music, but also can be an art performance, it's huge. So really the potential to bring together the people through these metaverses, through these new mediums to interact with information is very, very powerful. So this is the first thing that will change and will be enabled by metaverses on the way we experience art. A second thing also is a way to actually interact also between the artist and its public. Because also in these metaverses, like for example in Over, you can be there with your own avatar. So you're not just a passive spectator. If we think about the traditional mediums that we have, we watch TV, or maybe we watch a movie. We just passive, just things get thrown to us. But in these new metaverses, you are there with your own avatar. So you are never a passive spectator. And you can actually interact both with other people that is there, maybe from all around the world, but also you can directly connect with the artist. So this is not really a substitution for, physical presence, but it's a new channel. It's a new way, it's a new space where you can be, not with your physical presence, but you can still interact with people and meet them and talk to them about your works of art. So again, because sometimes when we think about digital world, we also think about it with a negative connotation, because it's something like that takes us away from reality and so on. But actually, this could also be seen on the opposite way. So a new channel to actually interact with people and also to collaborate with people. We can also imagine inside metaverses to have a collaborative art. So we can have people that actually join the space where the art is presented and actually interact with this art and have some change in the art depending on the interaction that the spectator have on this art. Now, I cannot disclose too much of that, but actually we have a project that will be delivered in the next months that is a tribute to the big Reichert Borges that wrote the Library of Babel. And the name of this work of art will be the Gallery of Babel, where basically this gallery will be also generated by their spectators. So this is something, it's another thing that can be built thanks to, these new technologies, these new means to interact with art and information. And another thing that is important to stress is that basically with these new spaces where we can showcase art, basically we can change our mindset from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset when we think about the place where there is exhibition. If you think about it, in the physical world, you have a gallery, you need to go there. The gallery is a specific space where you put your art. But usually the artist has not so much control on what is the space where the work of art will be. Of course, because there is constraints. That is the location, and there will be the art. Maybe it can change. It can choose between different galleries, but the galleries are those ones. With VR and AR galleries, basically the gallery itself can be a work of art. So you're not constrained anymore by the physical space, but you can create a gallery. You can create a gallery in the moon, or I don't know. The landscape, the place, the location where you create and you showcase the works of art becomes a part itself of the work of art. So this again, coming back to this idea of the digital art renaissance, so enabled by NFTs and metaverses, this is a new means of expression. So a place where basically you showcase your art, can be a work of art itself. And also on that, we had an example back in November 2022. It was at Art Basel with Over, and basically together with with the Open Air Foundation, we create this work of art that is called Ocean Drop. Basically, this work of art was a gallery, and the gallery itself, together with the NFTs inside it, was a work of art. And all of the sales then was given to an ocean protecting organization. But to my point, art was not anymore only the pieces of art that was there, that was created by many different artists, but also the art gallery itself, that actually was an underwater gallery that was geolocated in the marine area that was protected, actually. So thanks to this, so we are opening up really many new means of expression for artists. And coming a little bit closer to what is our main focus as platform, maybe you know about us. We are building what we call an augmented reality metaverse. So of course, we also can support virtual reality because it's a very similar technology, but our main focus is really augmenting the physical world. And if you think about this, and if you think about art in augmented reality, again, it's a new means to actually express yourself. Basically, you have the opportunity to edit the physical world, going beyond what traditionally is, the graffiti or the street art. So, before, the only way that you, in some way, edit the physical world, either you are an architect and you create buildings, or you make some graffiti or street art. But thanks to augmented reality, basically you can really edit the physical world, adding augmented reality to the world. So it's a new medium, not a substitute for what is out there, but it's really a new tool in the hands of artists to create art. And also that's why many of our users are actually artists, because they see our platform as a way to actually express themselves in another medium. And also in our case, for example, we have a strong focus on precise geolocalization. In fact, we have this system that is called Map to Earn, where basically we can scan physical location through normal mobile phones. And once we create these maps, the 3D representation of the physical world, these digital twins of the physical world, we can actually create works of art that are very precisely connected to the physical world. For example, you could put, a work of art exactly on the top of a building, or on a specific floor of a building, and so on. So you can really edit the physical world through the lenses of augmented reality. So yeah, really. So just to close up, I think that it's what I think is important to understand and to think about it. That's really the metaverse is not really only a way to display and enjoy what is the art. So it's not just a new way to showcase something old. It's really a new means of expression. So it's something that enables creativities that before was not possible. And also, again, it's important to note that really the NFTs, and so the standard that enabled the digital art for the first time, it's very, very closely interconnected with everything that we refer to when we talk about the metaverse, and especially when we talk about open metaverses like ours. I hope everything was clear. I don't know if you have any question. I'm very happy to answer you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me right now? Mute them. Can you hear me? Diego? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Great. Let me see if we have any questions from the audience. Sorusu olan var mı? It doesn't seem like we have any questions right now. Everyone's listening very intently to everything you said, so thank you so much for participating. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I hope to be physically in Istanbul very soon. Thank you very much.